The money hit Marcus Hale's phone before the sun had fully risen, a cold notification glowing in the early daylight like a quiet accusation. $300 for one afternoon, $300 to be cruel on purpose. He stood by the kitchen window of his small apartment, watching the city wake up in pale gold light, knowing that the choice he was about to make would either keep his life afloat for another week or drag his conscience somewhere it might never come back from. As a single father barely holding things together, Marcus had learned how quickly desperation could turn into decisions you swore you'd never make. If you believe that kindness deserves a second chance, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Grandpa's book. This channel exists for stories that remind us who we are when life pushes us to the edge. Marcus was 35, worn down in a way that came from too many responsibilities and not enough support. His mornings began with packing lunches for his 8-year-old son, Ethan, and ended with calculating bills that never seemed to shrink. The factory job he once depended on had downsized months ago, leaving him with temporary delivery work that barely covered rent. The message offering money to sabotage a blind date came through a mutual acquaintance, wrapped in excuses and justifications. Someone wanted to test a woman to see how she handled rejection, embarrassment, or cruelty. Marcus told himself it wasn't personal, that he would just act distant, awkward, maybe rude, and walk away. No harm done. That lie tasted bitter, even as he put on his cleanest shirt in the bright mid-daylight and left Ethan with a neighbor. The cafe was filled with sunshine when Marcus arrived, the kind of place with large windows, light wooden tables, and plants climbing toward the ceiling. Daytime made everything feel exposed, honest, and there was no hiding behind shadows. He spotted her immediately. Lena Morno sat at a table near the window, a little person with calm eyes and a soft blue dress, sipping coffee like she belonged exactly where she was. She wasn't nervously checking her phone or shrinking into herself. She looked steady, grounded, and ready. That confidence unsettled him more than any anger could have. He reminded himself why he was there, why his phone buzzed with money he already needed. As Marcus sat down, guilt pressed into his chest. He noticed small details he hadn't expected to care about. The way Lena had arranged her bag neatly by her chair, the way sunlight reflected off the rim of her cup. He forced himself into the role he had been paid to play. He acted distracted, barely making eye contact, letting silence stretch too long. He made comments meant to sting, careless remarks about inconvenience and expectations, all while the cafe hummed peacefully around them. Every word felt heavier than the last, like he was stacking bricks on his own heart. What Marcus hadn't prepared for was Lena's reaction. She didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice or walk out. Instead, she looked at him with a quiet sadness that held no anger, only understanding. In the middle of that bright cafe, she calmly thanked him for being honest, even if his honesty was cruel. She told him she'd faced worse, that people often assumed her life was a tragedy or a joke, but she had learned long ago not to measure her worth by the behavior of others. She wished him well, sincerely, and gathered her things without hurry. That moment cracked something open inside Marcus. He watched her leave, the sunlight following her like a gentle promise, and felt smaller than he ever had. The money in his account burned like shame. He thought of Ethan, of the lessons he tried to teach his son about being kind even when the world wasn't. Marcus stayed seated long after Lena had gone, the cafe noise blurring into a distant echo as he realized he had just become the kind of man he feared his son might one day meet. Outside, the day was warm and alive. Marcus stepped into the street feeling exposed, like the truth had finally caught up to him. He found Lena a short distance away, standing at a crosswalk, patiently waiting for the signal. His feet moved before his pride could stop them. He didn't ask for forgiveness right away. He didn't make excuses. He told her the truth, all of it, standing there in full daylight with nowhere to hide. He admitted he had been paid, that he was struggling, that none of it justified what he'd done. Lena listened, really listened, and that hurt more than anger ever could. She told him that she appreciated the honesty, that apologies mattered only when they led to change. She said she hoped the money helped his child, but she also hoped he would think carefully about the kind of example he wanted to set. There was no lecture, no dramatic confrontation, just a simple truth offered freely. When she crossed the street, Marcus stayed behind, knowing that even if he never saw her again, she had altered the course of his life. Marcus refunded the money that same afternoon. It meant skipping groceries and pushing bills another week, but for the first time in months, he felt something like peace. He picked up Ethan from the neighbor's apartment, the city glowing softly under the afternoon sun. As they walked home, Marcus found himself more patient, more present, the weight on his shoulders lighter because he had chosen not to carry someone else's cruelty anymore. Days passed, then weeks. Marcus took extra shifts, accepted help he once would have refused, and slowly rebuilt his sense of dignity. One afternoon, while volunteering at a community food drive during the bright hours of the day, he saw Lena again. She was there organizing boxes, laughing easily with others, fully herself. Their eyes met briefly and she smiled, a small acknowledgement of shared history and growth. It wasn't romance that filled Marcus's chest, but gratitude. Some people enter your life not to stay, but to wake you up. Just before the ending, special request. Comment below and share your thoughts about kindness, second chances, and the moments that changed your life. Marcus went home that evening with tired arms and a full heart. He tucked Ethan into bed while the last light of day slipped through the curtains. He realized that the real gift Lena had given him wasn't forgiveness or friendship, but a mirror. She had shown him who he could be if he chose empathy over desperation. The world hadn't magically become easier, but it had become clearer. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video, and subscribe to Grandpa's Book. Your support keeps stories like this alive, stories that remind us, even in the brightest daylight, change begins the moment we choose to be better.